figure drawing artist. In class today, Connie asked if I ever do what was mentioned in the video about trying to loosen up maybe before a creative session or a painting session, doing abstracts or doing unusual creativity exercises to loosen up. And I mentioned that I generally don't, but I have started a sketchbook where I have started doing those kinds of exercises. So some of these exercises may not seem like that out of the box for you or that creatively wacky, but for me, they're a real departure from what I usually do. So I just wanted to share this with you. So this is a sketchbook that I made. In of itself, that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but a few years ago, I took a class on making books, bookbinding, and at the time I thought, well, this was fun, but I'll probably never do these on my own. And then a couple years ago, I just got into the groove of making a bunch of these with leftover decorative papers and leftover papers. So this one you can see here, I have all kinds of papers in here. Brown, gray, off-white, white. Some are textured, some are not, some are thick, some are thin. Basically all kinds of loose papers I had laying around the studio, and I made this book out of it. Some of these are inspired by things I've seen online. Some of them are inspired by techniques I've never tried before or supplies I've never tried before. And I did this animal in pastels, which I never work with, and charcoal. And this was the beginning of this creativity journal. So that was 2024. And there's all kinds of stuff in here. I've taken a ton of Polaroid photos throughout the years. I collect Polaroid cameras. So I thought I'd incorporate some of those in here. It's really unusual for me. The background is acrylic painting, which I rarely touch. Then I did some writing, gouache. So it's a little bit all over the place for me. This was an animal that I did using collage, and then I taped it into the book. I'll just go through it quickly. I also love collecting sort of vintage advertising magazines. I never know what I'm going to do with it, but I just love the look of them, the aesthetics. And so I thought, well, let's pull some of that out. So again, I just laid down acrylic paint with nothing in mind. I didn't have an idea of where this project was going. And then I pulled out some of the papers that I liked. I found a recipe for pear pork chops. And then I just did a little bit of writing with a white gel pen. So these really come together without forethought. It's almost just intuitive painting or intuitive creating. Another thing I saw an artist talk about doing is including text, but not having it be really legible. So acrylic first, then I wrote with a regular graphite pencil. Then I put gouache on top of it, which washed some of it out. Playing with collage and a lot of the decorative papers I collect. So for me, this is really out of the box of, it's not the kind of work I typically do, certainly not the kind of paintings I'm sort of known for, but I find these really fun. Sometimes they come together in 15 minutes, sometimes I spend 45 minutes, a couple of days in a row, and it's just kind of fun to see how things evolve. It's also really fun to just spill out all my supplies on the table and start putting things together. These are cut out from watercolor paintings I did that I didn't care for. So I just cut out the parts that I liked, collaged them, used either white pencil or charcoal pencil. This bear image has showed up again. This was a little watercolor painting I did as a demo for a class to teenagers. So I glued it in here, and then I drew the bear on top, and I painted in the green background years later. Basically, a lot of this stuff I just keep around for years. This was really fun, just collaging a bunch of different papers. And then after those were collaged in, I thought, well, what else can I do? So I got my white pencil out and continued some of the tree designs from the collage. And then again, I was thinking, what else can I do? And I have a bunch of little watercolor birds I've done as demos throughout the years. So I cut one out and I glued it in on this twine. These are really satisfying to me, and I've never showed this sketchbook to anybody, but I find it kind of exciting to look at. It's not anything I would know how to market or sell at a gallery, but it plugs into a bolder, more adventurous side of my creativity that I really like. But I think of it as very personal, kind of like showing you a diary. I have done a lot of classes on classical drawing, so this to me was kind of a fun mix of classical drawing and then doing this sort of really gritty, almost graffiti-like background. Love finding good quotes. This was a little fawn I did in charcoal, and then I cut it out and I created this messy background of ink and charcoal and white gel pen, and then I glued it in. I'm not even sure that I'm trying to do finished pieces or say anything profound or say anything at all with these pages. It's really just me playing, getting messy, using things I don't usually use. Some more writing. I found a painting that I liked online and I thought, I wonder if I can do that in acrylic. Acrylic is definitely something I have no experience in. I sort of liked the way it turned out, and then I glued one of my really old Polaroid photos on it. Playing with gold gel pen. I don't usually use metallics in my artwork, so this was another way to do that. And these are the most recent pages. I haven't really thought about where to take them. This was a tiny little watercolor that I didn't like, that I did, but I liked the colors with this, so this to me is more of a color study, but I need to do some crazy zany stuff around it to integrate it more so it doesn't just look like a traditional watercolor with a mat around it. And then I wrote a snippet of a dream that I had here, and I thought maybe I would try to do some artwork that speaks to that. So anyway, I just wanted to show you this is what I do to loosen up or kind of push my own boundaries before I sit down and do my traditional artwork. Thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe got ideas for your own sketchbook.